Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. Man, I've been busy this week. Clint and Jeff, I'm alongside here with Matt and my buddy Jeff. How are we doing, gents?
We're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Doing well.
Doing well. Episode 169. We do have a special guest that will be joining us here pretty soon, but we got to do the normal. Got to cover all the basics. Got to cover all our bases. As we know, 60 days from now, we'll be in Wheeling for NAL game day, kickoff of the 2025 season. Miners and Spartans. We will actually have the side of the Spartans tonight on the episode, as this is the episode breaking down the Colorado Spartans. Hopefully, Colorado shares it on social media so the fans can get to see the breakdown of their team. And for more information on Inside the Walls, visit Inside the Walls podcast and all the network shows at nwallsnet.com. And if you prefer the podcast platforms, we're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on Apple iTunes, and we're on Podtastic or Podcast Addict, wherever that thing is called. The whole network's there. Every show that's on the network has a audio platform for it. And from the numbers I've been seeing, pretty good so far. Pretty good. But I don't even get it. Okay, fun story, Bob. I've already stole some content from Jeff here because the graphic you see here is similar to another show, and he was causing a tizzy in pre-shows. Like, you're not going to give credit where credit's due. Well, dang it, you're on the show, man. Like seriously.
I got to strike the iron while it's hot, buddy.
Look. At least Bob watches the show. Like, that's the thing.
Bob will still rip the stuff and share it himself. And he goes, what are you going to do about it? I'm saying, really? Not for you? Nothing, really. I know where you live.
That's cool.
But no. But yeah, give credit where credit is due. Before we get our guests in here, quick news and notes to the people who are listening out on the far west coast, especially LA. Fires galore. Hopefully you have any relatives that are associated who live in the area. Hopefully they're safe and well. Get in contact with anybody you know who lives out there. Make sure they need something. If they do, help. But yeah, what's happening in the Los Angeles region with the wildfires is pretty extreme. So hopefully people that we know are safe, and hopefully your family members are safe if anyone's involved.
Yeah, the NFL actually just announced that they're moving the Rams and Vikings playoff game to Glendale, Arizona.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
They mentioned it a little bit earlier, like yesterday.
Yeah.
I know the NBA is just moving games, and the NHL is moving games, so...
Yeah, it's sad. Sad what's happening out there.
So Jeff, I know we have a certain game that we're attending in March, especially March 10th, against a certain opponent, and we've mentioned a couple players of this opponent in Wheeling, the Colorado Spartans. But we've always talked about Wheeling because me and you host a Wheeling show, so we talk about a lot of Wheeling players, but there are two players in Colorado that we mention all the time that fans need to know about. Quarterback, Whitaker, and a gentleman that we're about to have on the show, and Steven Newbold Jr. First observations when you think of our guest coming up here.
Playmaker. I mean, absolute playmaker. Deep threat. He's the total package. His route running is awesome. It's tremendous. Definitely can show that, he is Whitaker's best friend. He did have a season in the IFL year before last with Green Bay, so he knows how to bend his routes, and the two men in motion was not a problem for him last year. He was able to link up with his other receivers because, you have to be able to go at the same speed to do that. It's an art form, and some receivers can't do it, and he definitely can, and found himself in the end zone more times than not.
And without further ado, intro video. And we'll bring on Steven Newbold Jr. to see how everything is going in. Well, I think he's in South Florida right now, but when he makes his trip to Colorado, what the Spartans have for 2025. No further ado, he's been waiting behind scenes, and if he knows me, he knows the show, I do carry on way too past the time. So,
Oh
Steven,
boy.
welcome to episode 169 of Inside the Walls podcast.
Hey, how y'all doing? Good evening.
Doing good. You staying warm?
Hey, this is Miami, so you can stay warm, but the temperature started to drop though. But we good down here. I know it's pretty cold up there where y'all at, right?
Yeah.
Not me. I'm in Jacksonville, so well, yeah.
So you good? You good?
I'm colder than you, but not as cold as these two gentlemen. One's in
It's
Nebraska,
No.
one's in
it's
West
definitely
Virginia.
cold. It's definitely cold in Omaha for sure.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We
appreciate
had
y'all for having me on the show. I want to say Happy New Year's to you all. Happy holidays, and wish all us the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Most
Well, it's
definitely.
2025, so we can turn the page on the 2024 season. Now we are, well, for you and for me and Jeff, who cover the Wheeling Miners, we are 60 days away until both Colorado and Wheeling kick off the 2025 season in Wheeling, West Virginia. Uh, before we get into breaking down games to talk about last year, what made you go back to Colorado?
Well, it was pure love. I had a lot of fun. It was something different. So I'm always down for a new challenge, especially when it comes down to the weather change. So I felt like it was a nice place where I can really get in, and you never know, you might end up having to play in 90. I mean, not 90, but for negative 15-degree snow, whatever it may be. But I love the atmosphere in Colorado.
Well, now you got to deal with the altitude too.
Yeah,
Did
Mhm.
that
that
was
affect
pretty
you?
smooth. That was pretty smooth. I adjusted to that pretty fast, but that was something nice to adjust to.
Yeah. Jeff?
So we'll talk about last season a little bit. You had a heck of a season last year, over 1,100 yards receiving, and you were averaging 2 touchdowns a game, which is unbelievable. Um, Talk me through that. Like, how did you prepare for that? And did you expect to have a big season like you did?
Well, I want to give thanks to God and the glory. But it all comes down to rest. You got to rest your body in order to, make it move properly and do the things that you need to do on the field, also off the field. So first thing you need to do is just rest and prepare yourself for the game. So you do those things right, you can maintain a good season.
One thing that a lot of players are that I've talked to about explosiveness, especially last year in the NAL, and I talked who was the most dynamic player in kick returners, and most of them said you. And you look at the stats don't lie, man. 600 yards returning, 3 touchdowns. You are a playmaker, especially off the in special teams.
One thing about it, the game is not just played, it's not just played on offense and defense. Special team play a big key in the game. You might see guys block a punt, block a kick, anything might happen. So special team is a big key to me. I like to get more tackles though, but I like touching the end zone too.
What do you prefer?
Both.
You just want to be on the field.
Hey,
Variable Travis Hunter over here. So,
Right?
the question I
Well,
have
it's
for you,
Colorado, so just
Yeah, I
saying.
was gonna say it is
that's pretty
Colorado.
smooth. That's pretty smooth.
the question I have for you, Stephen, is you played last year with Whitaker, the quarterback there, and talk a little bit about your relationship with him as a receiver and just how your guys' chemistry developed throughout the season last year.
Jay Wick, if you're watching, that's my boy. We call him Jay Wick. But man, Jay Wick, he's a pretty fun dude to be around, man. He taught me how to juggle, to be honest. So he taught me a lot of things off the field and not even football related, just life situations and how to carry yourself and just how to, do different things. Me and Jay Wick come from a different background, but we also managed to stick in with each other, even through the roughing time that we did go through in Colorado. But Jay Wick, he's a great guy, great quarterback, and we looking forward to do some more damage.
Well, talking about the tough times from last year, it felt like in the earlier season, you guys were trying to figure each other out, what your team you were going to be. But in that second half of the season, you were pushing Sioux City, you were pushing Omaha, and you were
Yeah,
pushing Carolina for those. Because last year we didn't have a postseason; we just had top two teams go to the championship game.
right.
You were pushing them because there were some games last year towards the end of the year. Like you watch Colorado, it was Whoever had the ball last won the game.
It was gonna be a real good game to the wire for sure. And one thing I can comment on that about is, everything don't start off right how you want it to go. So it was just us about, getting in the lab, clicking, doing things different that we was doing before. So those started to work and we just stuck to it and didn't look back.
Again, we have stats, but as you know, sometimes league stats are not completely accurate.
Right, true.
It's just not this in the AL. It happens in the IFL all the time. Yeah. Like you think he's a 1,000-yard receiver, and the receiver's like, "What? I am?" Like either they're like, "Oh, okay," it was like they're surprised. I'm like, "You're not." That's like, "No, I think I'm around like 900." It's like, "Well, you better take that 1,000 yards." It's like,
take it for sure.
Yeah, because if you look at the league leaderboard from last year, it says that he had 15 touchdowns and like 499 yards or something like that.
Yeah, it's more.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why we said 1,000 total yards.
Yeah.
So,
but it adds up. It looks good on the paper.
Yeah, because a lot of players I know, some of them not so picky about stats, and there are other ones that if it's not right to the half of an inch, they get ticked. I don't understand why, but I think it's pride almost, you could say. But there's some players, I know some dudes that they don't care. They just want to be on the field and they want to hit people.
Want to win.
In the words of one of the guys, one of the Jacksonville Sharks players I've talked to, the number he wants to see is how many personal foul flags he has, because that's how hard he hits. So if he gets like 3 or 4, he means, okay, well, I'm doing good. He's a linebacker, by the way. And he didn't see the field a lot, so just maybe there's a reason right there. But
true.
Going into 2025, the schedule is out. You got teams out on your schedule: Omaha, Sioux City, Wheeling. Is there any game that you're circling for the 25 season?
Well, first we can start off with the first game. Should be a nice show. Two great quarterbacks going at it. Hopefully their receiver core is cool. Defensive backs are cool. And this will be a great show. So we're gonna take it one game at a time. That's the thing, last year we were trying to make sure at the beginning, that's probably another thing why we wasn't clicking that much. We were trying to make sure everything click all at once when, it's a rhythm to it. So I feel like we can keep that rhythm going to this year.
Good point. Revenge game you have circled, because I know there's a couple of games that kind of got away last year for Colorado if certain things went a certain way, or you just focus on week 1.
I can just say you'll tell the difference in how to go down. You'll pretty know. Oh, that was the game he was saying. But yeah,
I can tell what you're right. You don't want to put bulletin board material out there. You're just like, I'm just gonna focus on game 1. You let the ball do the talking.
That too, but sometimes the obvious don't got to be explained. But at the same time, the guys know they know who they are.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you look back to last season, and you see that you guys had a pretty significant lead against the Omaha Beef. Obviously, let that one slip away a little bit. So week 2, you guys are coming to the Slaughterhouse. Let me ask you this question: how do you feel about cowbells?
Oh, it don't. The noise don't always be there. It's not about the noise or the tone. It's about the message. So when we come in and send the message, they'll understand it's not about the noise.
Yeah, for sure.
You and the dang cowbells.
I was gonna say that's a pretty permanent question.
Well, you ask everybody. Do you go to restaurants in Omaha? What do you think about cowbells?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. No.
If you really did that, you better have that on TikTok or Twitter or something, because that'd be hysterical.
But to give it to it though, it is a pretty distracting object if you're not the type of guy to lock in. But you're gonna need a lot more cowbells than that though.
Yeah, for sure.
Your journey, from Miami. Miami is a football hotbed for high school talent.
Mm-hmm.
and you go to Tennessee. It's weird, Tennessee State.
Right.
But a lot of people don't understand, especially down south, that Miami, Broward County, Miami-Dade, they're some of the most elite high school recruits to come out of Miami. The Hurricanes, unfortunately, finally got their season that they were looking for.
True.
But historically, Miami is a hotbed of talent, and you had opportunity to play down there with a lot of great talent. Um, Describe the culture that is Miami football, the area compared to other parts of the country.
The way one word I can put it in is hungry. If you're not hungry, if you're not ready to eat, you might starve and then you might miss out on your chance or have it. But it's a lot of good talent out here, so everybody's hungry. So hopefully you can put enough food on your plate to eat.
What was it? I have something playing in my ear. I do apologize. Don't know where that's coming from. I have your voices in my head and they're talking to me, but I have no idea where it's at. Found it. Um, you went to
But
Tennessee State,
okay.
Tennessee Martin. That's a little rivalry. And then you went into the indoor community. How was that transition going from college to professional? Because a lot of players, they go from, oh, I'm going to go to the NFL because I'm going to be in the NFL, but they don't realize there's other opportunities besides the NFL. How was that journey for you?
Sometimes, um, to be honest, I just always thought like some things just don't go as planned. You know, even though say if it was my destiny to be to the NFL, you know, that would have happened, or it still can happen. But right now, I got to finish my journey that is still going on in the NIL. First started in the IFL, so it's
Mhm.
just taking one stepping stone at a time and just staying strong and dedicated to the game.
Have you been working out with Whitaker? Anything? And is he any playing
I
meetings
wish
before
I
that?
could get him down here. That'd be pretty fun though. We might plan. We might have to plan that for like a one of our bye weeks. Do a off season break, not an off season, a bye week workout in Miami, so he can see the different altitude and how the weather would be. That'd be pretty cool.
Problem is,
Right?
he'll go to Miami and want to stay there.
True. You know,
Yeah.
Miami like Las Vegas. You know, you have a lot of fun, but hopefully you stay grounded.
A lot of distractions.
Hmm.
Yes, a lot of distractions in Miami. But speaking last year's chemistry, one thing I know is that you're a dynamic kick return, but also your receiving qualities. What does Coach Shaw make, or how can I say it? What does Coach Shaw's coaching ability help you improve your game?
He helped me to push myself to be even greater than what I am.
Hmm.
Meaning, the times when I did feel like, oh, I had a little bang or a bruise in the play when I know I probably did, but at the same time is that when you have a coach like him, he give you that extra will strength or that extra energy that you probably might need just by bumping into him. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a bond. Like, okay, he's motivating and he want to see me do right. So when you got a coach like that, you know it only puts positive in knowing that he's down for you. So it just give you positive energy to do right. Awesome coach.
He is a coach. He's a greedy coach. I had opportunity to cover him when he was in San Antonio, and then he went to Colorado. I know his coaching tendencies from all the games I've watched. Um, he cursed at me in the crowd one time in Jacksonville. He had no idea that that was me. But I have all the respect to Coach Shaw. And one thing I know about Coach Shaw's teams are well coached. He finds a lot of players that no one looks for and makes them into stars. And he, like Whitaker, no one knew about Whitaker. Like people thought he was going to be the backup quarterback last year, and turns out to be the offensive player of the year last year in the NAL.
Amazing.
Yourself, uh, the list goes on. The kick, what, forgot his name. Number 99, big boy. Ah, this is me having got to do my research. Dang it, my bad.
For us,
Yeah, for Colorado, number 99.
last guy that wore was Tony Thompson. Shout out to Coach Tom.
Tony, that's right. Oh, that's the reason why I didn't forget that. That's why he went to the coaching realm with things. I have a video of him right here. Why did I think it at the top of my head? That's me doing too many shows there, Steven. My bad. I apologize.
No, he's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know, it's cool.
But let's stop. Let's pull away from talking about Colorado and let's move into today. What's happening tonight? Currently in Miami, the Orange Bowl. Tomorrow, the Cotton
Correct.
Bowl, and you got the NFL playoffs that kick off in a couple of days. First off, who you got winning the college football? Got to win all out of the final four teams.
I'm going with Ohio State. You know, they got a nice receiver over there. He's from down here, Jeremiah Smith. Real smooth guy, real talented professional already, even though he's a freshman. But he's an awesome player to watch, man. On a receiver standpoint, the guy he highballs the ball at every point. Runs great routes, nice speed, and he's a tall guy. He's a lengthy guy. So I'm taking Ohio State.
And
You know-
switching to
Coach Tatum is taking Ohio State.
What about you guys?
I like Ohio State. I think they're the best team remaining in the four.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
think they're the best team. I don't think it's close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
them guys, they putting up a lot of points now early.
Mhm.
I think that
Yeah.
Michigan game will come up.
The problem is, and I've said this before, is they are ever since Ryan Day, or not Ryan Day, but Urban Meyer came over, they are an SEC team playing in the Big Ten. He put that SEC culture in them, and they still think they're a Big Ten team when they play Michigan, and they try to play big on big, and that's why they've lost the past 2 years. If they would finesse and use their pass game, they'd beat them by 30. Just my
Easy.
observation.
I don't think you want to be waving the SEC banner that much. I do think they're going to be eliminated tomorrow. I do think Penn State's going to beat Texas tomorrow.
Penn State's playing Notre Dame right now.
Yeah, they're playing right now.
No, who's
Ohio
Ohio
State.
State's
Ohio
beating
State's
Texas.
playing.
Penn State's going to beat Notre Dame. Excuse me. I don't even know what the score is because I have it
I think
recorded.
it's
So don't tell me.
10-3. I'm
Damn it.
pretty sure.
Oh.
Sorry. My bad.
It's a
I got it out
pretty
before you
shootout
said
right
something.
now.
My bad.
That's it, Jeff. I stole your graphics. Now you're giving the scores. It's you pay back. I got it. I get it. And the NFL playoffs are starting on Friday, right? No, Saturday, doubleheader.
Saturday, yep.
Who you got playing the Super Bowl?
I should have had my other hat on, but the Chiefs, of course.
Yeah, that's a. I have a reason why I have the Chiefs. Conspiracy theory. I think it's.
Can I hear it?
Oh, it's it. The conspiracy theory is everyone knows conspiracy theory. It's freaking. They got to put Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
It's about that time, huh?
Josh Allen needs to go after a top pop star. We got find a way.
So, do you think Lamar Jackson is going to win MVP again, or
I think they'll give it to Josh Allen this year
think so?
because how Buffalo ended the year. Yeah, but I think
Oh boy,
if you look at how Baltimore finished the season,
yeah, they got to give it a good push. Yeah,
they had a good push. But if you look at the old full body of work for Josh Allen, I give it to Josh Allen.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year, they're going to give it, to my opinion, they're going to give it to either Brock Bowers or T.J. Daniel, or not T.J. Daniels. That's Daniels from
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, they'll go to Daniels because he made the playoffs.
Yeah, but honestly, Brian Thomas Jr. needs to win it because he had almost 1,300 receiving yards on the Jaguars.
Okay,
with multiple quarterbacks. Like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, smooth. Yep.
And Jared Verse will win Rookie of the Year or Defensive Rookie of the Year. So
that's a pretty nice lineup.
Defense, and he's a Ram. So
I read a pretty cool stat about Cooper DeJean today, though. Apparently, they threw the ball at him 75 times, and he didn't give up a single touchdown. That's a rookie.
That's smooth.
That is pretty
smooth. And where you play at?
Iowa, and he plays for the Philadelphia Eagles now.
Okay. That's smooth right there. 75 times.
Hey.
Maybe because you're an Iowa fan.
Probably.
But
So Steven, I wanted to ask you, what are you looking forward to most this upcoming season playing in Colorado?
The most I'm looking forward to, obviously, we want to win more. If we want to start there, but to top it off more, the more I want to see a different team, meaning like more structure wise and seeing a difference coming back for a second time. So that's my main thing that I want to see. I want to see a difference, and the way I think was done and how players move and just a difference all around. Now that we're in a new different location, so obviously it's going to be different. So it's just about adjusting to the different things first. That's my main goal.
well, speak about your old location. Fort Collins ain't bad. It's Colorado State University. That's
Yeah, Fort Collins is pretty smooth. I like Fort Collins. They had a nice bowling alley I used to go to almost 2 times a week there. So yeah, it was pretty cool in Fort Collins.
but nothing compared to Denver.
I'm ready to explore, go to see what the bowling alley's like. I like the bowl, so if you want to catch me somewhere and have fun, let's go bowling, man.
Nice.
Not a bowler. I'm a golfer, and I
That's pretty
suck at it.
smooth. We need to probably go one day. Meet up at a game after a game or something. Have
Well,
us a couple of rounds.
I'll
at
drive the
bowling
golf
or
cart.
golf?
He said, "I drive the golf cart."
I'll drive the golf cart.
I'm not that good too, so it'll be funny. It'll be real funny.
You don't want to see my golf game. I break windows and I hit a dog before with a
Oh
golf ball.
boy, let them things fly.
I sliced it and the dog didn't see it coming, hit him right in the gut. I felt so bad. And the guy's like, the owner's like, I watched it. It was a complete accident. You didn't do anything intentional. Like, I'm so sorry. I felt miserable for the rest of the day.
Hey,
Jim's out here, Happy Gilmore in it.
I wish I was Happy Gilmore. You know the money that guy makes? Being Adam Sandler? Jeez.
yeah, that's one of my favorite actors too, man. I
Yeah,
love Adam Sandler. Yeah,
for sure.
One thing you're going to go to Denver, you win Colorado, and in Miami. That's a big culture change from like Caribbean type of temperatures to the frozen tundra because it gets cold up there and up in the mountains.
yeah.
I know there
That's
has to be
why.
some type of acclimation period for you to get there from those 2 points.
Yeah, I should be leaving pretty soon. I like to get up there early. Anywhere I'm going, I like to get up there at least about 2, 3 weeks up there early. And now that I'm in Colorado, I can probably go shredding, hit the snowboard one time. I missed it last year, so I'm definitely gonna go for one ride at least.
Well, one year we'd be up there in Denver.
I would say early February.
So in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Then you'll make the trip to Wheeling, West Virginia for the first game where you'll see me, Matt, and Jeff there. We'll be live there.
Have a repeat. Okay, that
Yeah.
should be fun.
Probably might grab you before the game, get you on the show, the pregame show before the toe hits the leather on Monday Night Football. So, yeah, that will be a repeat. It would be like an encore presentation almost.
Yeah, that'll be smooth. I'm looking forward to that one.
Mm-hmm.
No, there was an icebreaker.
Icebreaker. Well, Jeff is good with ice breaking because that's his area of the country. He knows where all the icebreakers are at up there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's currently like 17 degrees right now.
17.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so Jeff, when you were
Smooth.
gone, Steven was saying that he really likes to go bowling. So if they get to town early, you might have to let him know where that bowling alley is in town.
There's a couple close to the arena. Yeah, there's one
Oh,
across
yeah?
the river. Because the way it's kind of an odd setup, the way it is. Wheeling is actually really close to the Ohio border and Pennsylvania, so you can be within 3 states in 20-25 minutes. So it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, you
Cool.
sneeze, you're in another state.
Yeah.
I've experienced that firsthand. I'm like, hey, we're still in West Virginia. Coach was like, no, we're in Ohio. I'm like, what the? I'm like, really?
Oh, boy. That was quick.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But Steve,
We for sure can do that.
I appreciate you coming on. But before we let you go, I want you to give shout outs to anybody who's watching. If you have a business that you want to promote or your social media, this is your time to shine.
I just want to say shout out to everybody that's watching the show. Hopefully, y'all stay tuned in this season. This should be a great show for the Colorado Spartans. If you want to follow me, is D1_Steve at all platforms. And y'all just have a blessed weekend and have a blessed year.
Appreciate it, Steve. Give Coach Shaw a pain.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Shout out to my coaches and everybody, to the front
do the opposite of
office,
what he tells you.
everybody. And yeah, there's some great guys. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to everybody that's in the front office.
Well, safe travels to Denver. And one thing I know about Miami to Denver, it's a direct flight. Don't have to change flights. Don't have to be stranded at an airport. Direct to
Right.
Denver. So
Nice
safe
4
journeys
hours.
up there. Get a hold of Whitaker. Don't take him down to Miami, because if he goes to Miami, he's going to stay there. And then Coach Shaw's going to have to be looking for another quarterback.
Nah, I'll make sure we keep him cool. We'll keep going. Jay Wick, cool. Appreciate y'all for having me, though, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good luck this season. We'll see you in Willing week 1. All 3 of us. You'll see us.
For sure.
You might see some strange dude throwing dudes in the lake and the river. If you do, that's us. That's me throwing these guys out because they didn't live up to their contract. But I really appreciate it. And when we come back after this, I have a short video from the Colorado Spartans about their recent tryout. And then we come back, we'll break down the schedule and some of the key components of this team and wrap up the episode, just breaking down all things Colorado. We'll be back after this.
Tony Thompson, I'm the owner of the Colorado Spartans. So the guys, the number one thing that I'm looking for is professionalism. There's a lot of good athletes in the world, but you got to be
guys,
professional.
have a good one.
They're kind of a reflection of me in the public, especially with Denver. I want to make sure we make a good first impression. And then number 2, I want to see the confidence. Some guys get a little nervous when the lights are on. So I need professionalism. I need confidence. I need you guys to show us why you're here. And so that's what I look for. Me and Coach will break down the technical side of it. I was watching footwork, watching hips. That's stuff that we look for today. I really think Denver's got a lot of talent. That's the thing. And so we're gonna have one more tryout that we're gonna push a little bit more to try to find a couple more guys. But I saw some guys that I liked today. I really did. There's some guys that I think will sign. We'll get them a camp invite and see how they compete against some pros.
1, 2, 3, family!
Little family action, little recent tryouts, courtesy of the Colorado Spartans social media platform.
I like to see coaches like Coach Shaw, and Wheeling has a tryout tomorrow, and we'll see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They get active.
Absolutely.
You see Coach Shaw in the video. He's running routes. He's explaining things. He's doing it with the players. That's awesome to see. That's definitely people you want to play for.
Yeah, definitely. Same thing happens in Omaha, too, when they do their tryouts. We got ours coming up January 25th, and you'll see Coach Tatum out there, Coach Albino, those guys will all be out there working with those guys and showing them stuff. So, yeah, I love that, too.
Well, speaking of Tatum, speaking of Coach Tony, and speaking of Coach Shaw, and I guarantee you Negron does it in Carolina, the season is soon to come. We're 60 days away. Kickoff, actually, there are some preseason game actions happening in the NAL 2 weeks prior to the kickoff of the season. So teams are scheduling some extra games, non-league games. So make sure to visit all their social media platforms for updated ticket information for the 2025 kickoff. And again, we'll be in Willing on March 10th at I don't know what time I want to say the time we're going to kick off. Well, the game kicks off at 7, but we don't know what the show will start live. Game day live in Willing. We'll be on all social media platforms. If you watch College Game Day on ESPN or Fox, it's going to be similar to that with special guests, giveaways, stupid antics. You could see 3 of us together for the first time acting like complete children for adults. It's going to be a good time, good fun. Probably won't, depending on the weather. I might end up in the river. I don't know how.
I mean, there's 2 of us and 1 of you. So, I mean.
Hey, it's a handicap match, and I'm used to it. Let's continue breaking down the Colorado Spartans 2025 season here with their 2025 schedule. It was updated due to some recent events. But the schedule lays like for if you're watching on YouTube and your screen, if you're listening to our podcast platforms, you can visit Colorado Spartans social media for all up-to-date information on their schedule. But we'll break it down here on their schedule. Again, how many times are we going to mention Wheeling, Colorado, week 1 in Wheeling, Virginia, West Virginia. Week 2 at Omaha, so they get to visit Matt Patton in Omaha. Week 3, they're off in that Sioux City. Let's break this up in thirds, gents. First 3 games: Wheeling, Omaha, Sioux City. That's a tough gauntlet for an organization, especially the kickoff.
All on the road too.
Yes, all on the road.
Yeah, you look at that. I mean, you're on the road 3 out of the first 4 weeks of the season. They do have that bye week in there, so that's nice where they get a little bit of a break. But still, yeah, like Jeff said, that's almost like what they would call murderer's row in baseball. Where you got to go to the undefeated team from last year from the league that Wheeling was in, and then the team in the Omaha Beef that also haven't lost in 930 days or whatever it is now, and then the runner-up from last year's league championship game, the Sioux City Bandits. All 3 of those teams back to back. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody has a grudge against Colorado or something. I'm not sure.
That with those 3 environments are just unreal. I mean, Matt, you talk about the slaughterhouse, and it being loud and cowbells and different things. And we talked to the guys from Sioux City, and they mentioned on how it's like dungy and dreary down there, and that's how they like it,
Yeah.
And Wheeling is a smaller venue, so everybody's sitting on top of everybody, and it is loud. It doesn't matter if you have 100 people in there or a couple thousand. It's loud in there because everybody's on top of everybody.
Yeah. The thing about Sioux City's place over there, the Tyson Event Center, they've got a small upper level, but it's literally it's like a really small upper level, but it's really dark in there. Like it's dark in the crowd area, but the field's bright. So yeah, it is kind of dungeon feeling, and yeah, they love it. So I mean, to each their own, but.
Well, I do have not really unfortunate news. I do just want to tell everybody that the schedule that you're seeing on the screen right now is not quite accurate.
Oh.
There is a additional road game that needs to be added on there. Bears, unfortunately. What happens? Technology happens there. Let's continue on to this. Let's look at the next 3 games on the docket. They return home for the next 3 games with Amarillo, Idaho, and Columbus. After having 3 games over a 4-week stretch on the road, they do return home for actually a lengthy homestand. Will be a 4-game homestand, but we're breaking down 3 games here. Amarillo, which if people haven't noticed yet, if you visit nationalarenaleague.com, Amarillo has made some signings, new signings as their new coach is in there, getting some new players, so they are getting up to par with that. And then you got Idaho, who organization last year that was one of those teams that entered, kind of took a long time to transition to the league. And at the end of the year, they finally got very competitive in a lot of the games. But you got a traditional power, the Columbus Lions, who have the second longest winning streak in the indoor/arena game going into Colorado in week 8. You look at these 3 games, gents. I'm going to just say, based on the first 3, you can go from a gauntlet, the first 3, to we can deal with the next 3. Like that's home. Jump on Amarillo, because as a person breaks down the sport and looks at the schedules and does hypotheticals, breaking down each and every team. I looks like there's a possibility that Colorado can go 0-3. There's a possibility because of that schedule. You look at those Wheeling, Omaha, and Sioux City, you're like, that could be 0-3. But if the worst case scenario does happen, you can bounce back back-to-back wins with Amarillo and Idaho at home, and you have a challenging game against Columbus coming down. You're back to 500, then you're back in the mix of things. But that gauntlet, if I was Colorado, and my Colorado fan, I'm like, we got to find a way to take at least 1 out of those 3 to start off the season and come back winning the next 2 home games, which I think is very pivotal for them to get. They have to, in my opinion, to be 500 before you get to the final 3 weeks of the season, because I think that could be a determining factor to get to the top 2 seeds, one of the top 2 seeds in the national division. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, not only that too, but those key you're breaking it down into thirds. I would say even from week 2 to week 7, those are pivotal games because they're all divisional games. I mean, that's going to be a turning point for them. Is that stent there with the beef with Sioux City, Amarillo, and with the Horsemen? So those are going to be, if they can split that, they have a chance. I mean, that's something that's going to be, it's going to be hard. Those games are going to be tough. But they do get 2 away, 2 at home in those divisional games. So it's definitely the meat of their schedule. Definitely is harder, and it doesn't get any easier towards the end. That last week matchup, we've talked about it multiple times, could be huge playoff implications.
Matt, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it a little bit too. Like, if they can go 1-2 in those first 3, but really if they can somehow pull out 2 out of 3 in that first set there, then they're set up at home for that 4-game stand there at home. And we don't really know what Amarillo is going to bring. We know Idaho from last year, they were a scrappy team. I can't imagine that they're not going to be improved this year. And so I think that's going to be, for me, that's an interesting game, those 2 teams, right? Because they're somewhat close in proximity. And I think it's going to be something to see whether that becomes a rivalry or because of what happened last season against the Omaha Beef, if that becomes a rivalry, even though, they're only 8 hours apart from Omaha, but like, I don't, seeing what kind of rivalries get developed in there. And then like, we know Columbus is going to come in, they're going to compete. They're going to have some guys, and some dudes and whatnot. And so, but yeah, a lot of what you guys said too, I agree with. But I really don't think that, last year, I think everybody was like, okay, Colorado, they're an expansion team. We know what Coach Shaw can do. And going into the season, last season, I think everybody kind of thought, okay, they're going to struggle a little bit and then they're going to pick it up at the end of the season. But I think this season, Colorado is probably, I would say, in my opinion, specifically one of the, favorites to potentially make a run to the playoffs and maybe even to the league championship.
It's going to be a daunting task, especially after Columbus, and then wrapping up the season with the next 4 games. It's a 2-for-2 affair. You get 2 champions coming to your building in the Denver Coliseum, and then you go on the road to take on the Idaho Horsemen and the Sioux City Bandits. So they got Wheeling, Idaho at Sioux City, then home against Omaha to wrap it up. As much as you look at this Colorado schedule, I for going in depth, you look at the quarterback play that they're going to play constantly. You got Brooks, you got Russell twice, you got Reed twice, you got
Wilson.
Yes,
Wilson.
said the wide receiver who plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I had to correct myself before I said his name. And Taz Wilson, you got Taz, Russell. Like daunting. And then you go, okay, well, tough quarterbacks, but you look at what Colorado has. They have the returning offensive player of the year, and he's a quarterback. Those final 4 games going to be very tough, especially Wheeling coming in town in week 9. That'd be a type of game they can get because you want one thing you have to look at is when teams make long travels, depending if it's going East Coast or all the way to the West Coast. You want to get them in the nut, but you want to get those teams, get the wins at home. But that's I honestly, to the fans who are watching this or listening to this on a podcast platform, I'm going to be honest with you, bro, guys. Guys have a tough schedule. That's no joke of a schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, they can go, literally, they can go 500 in this schedule and still be one of the best teams in the league because look at the schedule they played.
Right.
There probably could be a team in this league that goes 7-3, but their schedule's nowhere near as tough as this one. But closing out this schedule, last 4, what do you think there, Matt?
The last 4, you kind of hit the nail on the head with it when you were talking about it. You got Wheeling, you got Sioux City and Omaha, the 2 teams that played in the National Rally League Championship last year. You got the Horsemen in there. That's a weird trip. Everybody I've talked to who's made that trip to Idaho, it's a weird trip, right? It's just a weird, like, you can't fly directly to where they're at, so you got to fly to one place and then bus the rest of the way, and it's just a weird road trip there, and so you never know what could happen there. But yeah, man, that opening with Wheeling and then Omaha and Sioux City, and then closing it out with Wheeling, Omaha, and Sioux City in 3 out of those last 4. It does help to have 2 of those last 4 at home. But man, that's a tough stretch for any team. But I talk about it. I think if any team is up for it, it's going to be Coach Shaw.
Well, me and Jeff talked about this last night about how we were talking about the American division, how the American division is tough, but me and Jeff and Coach Rez were talking about in the national division, the last 3 weeks, you have Omaha playing Colorado, you have Sioux City playing Colorado, and playing Columbus. You got tough schedules wrapping up the season, and you look at this schedule, you look at how Omaha is right there at the very end. There could be a chance if everything breaks away of the Spartans this year that could be the chance to home field advantage for the championship game, the national division championship game, or possibly the 1 seed. That could be pivotal. But when you get the 2-headed monsters, the Sioux City Bandits and the Omaha Beef to end the season, that's like playing Buffalo Bills and Kansas City wrapping up in the NFL. And if you're a team trying to get for a playoff spot, you really don't want that schedule. But if this is a schedule for TV makers, I see a lot of Monday night games right here on this schedule. But unfortunately, TV makers don't like our industry for some reason. There's reasons I could point a few out. But Jeff, we talked about this last night through the wire, but just about how this schedule is wrapping up especially for Colorado.
Yeah, I mean it could huge playoff implications. They definitely could either see themselves in a hole or can control their own destiny. So I mean it's really one of those things of where it's at and how it ends. I think that's a bad draw with having Omaha at the end of the season, but you do get it at home, so that's beneficial for them. I would put a bigger stake on that game if it was away in the Slaughterhouse, but they do get that in week 2, so that's out of the way early. So I think that helps them as well. But yeah, just drawing the last 2 weeks of the season, week 12, week 13, with Sioux City and Omaha is just that's a heck of a draw.
Okay, I'm gonna put you 2 guys on the hot spot. I know how Matt doesn't like being on the hot spot. At best, what is Colorado's record, Matt?
Oh, let's see. They got 10 games.
Everyone has 10 games, yes.
I'm going to go at best. I'm going to go 8-2.
Lowest record possible.
Lowest record possible. I'm going to go 3-7. I just think it's one of those weird things. Like Colorado's that type of team where they're going to get somebody that maybe people don't expect them to get. They're going to beat somebody that maybe people don't expect them to beat. You know what I mean? And I just think that's a team that's really dangerous this year.
Jeff,
I think 7-3 best, and then worst case scenario, 4-6.
You guys are around that line that I think at best their schedule 8-2, but I'm not so daunting on their worst record. I think they're going to be a dang good team. I really do. I really have good. It's Whitaker. I think I know there's some coaches in the industry that think, Jim, you're too highly on him. I think he has the great potential of excelling his game. At best, 8-2. At worst, I think they're 7-3.
The matchups that I keep getting stuck on is, yes, there's a bye week between 2 and 4, but the playing Omaha and Sioux City back to back both times that they get them, it's rough. I mean, there's sometimes you get, okay, I get a game and then I kind of get a game where you get a game off, you know what I mean, kind of thing, where you know a team's not to the caliber that you are, but you get those two teams together. You would hope that those two teams would be spread out a little bit more.
Again, if you look at the schedule compared to the whole league, you look at their game and you're like, whoo,
Yeah.
ouch. Like Commissioner Walkenhorst, what are you doing, my man? I'm just saying. But it's still a daunting schedule. Right now,
Coach Shaw, he'll take it head on. He doesn't care what it is. He'll just say line the ball up and go. So that's one of those things that he's like, it doesn't really matter to us. You know what I mean? He's one of those coaches that's just going to line it up and go.
Okay, just quick. Don't say that this is not a yes or no answer. It's like, is Colorado a playoff or a national division championship game contender this season? Yes or no? Jeff?
Yes, I think it's a three-way race in the national. I think it's a three-way race in both divisions, if you ask me. But I think yes, it's gonna come down to those last 2 weeks, 12 and 13, for all three of those teams.
Matt?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I agree. I think that last 2 week stretch is going to really determine a lot for the national division there. And I 100% think that Coach Shaw's team is going to be in the mix this year to potentially be in that conference championship or division championship game. Yeah,
I think they're a contender. They were almost a contender. They were a contender last year, but they ran out of the games. And I think starting the season off, Shaw getting his guys back and the schedule. I think they're the type of team that, I don't know. When we do our season prediction show the week before game day, we'll mention who we think will make the 4-team playoff here in the National Arena League for the 2025 season. And based on what Jeff says, he's already eliminated four teams already. Like, come on, Jeff, what are you doing now, man? Well, it is your job. You're a sports guy. You're supposed to call.
I was going to say it is my job.
You know what it is? People are going to start calling you the they're Kurt Herbstreit.
Yeah.
Of the NAL.
Hey, I'll take it. I mean, if I could be anything like Herbie, I'm good, man. Like,
does that mean I need to start learning how to flip a pencil?
Well, because you guys already yelled at me once because we said we would pick the game, and I said I'm not picking it because I'm calling it. Herbstreit does that all the time, and that's
Good point.
Fair enough.
You are right about that. Who are the players that are joining this year's Colorado staff? Pictures are courtesy of the Colorado Spartans social media platform. Of course, we see the main man in the middle, Offensive Player of the Year, returning from the 2004 season, quarterback Jason Whitaker. And the man up top, Duke City legend, but he also became a legend at Florida State University of Greg Dent Jr. Looking at this roster, gents, besides we had Steven Newbold. The reason why he's not on here is because he has a graphic of himself on the episode, so he gets his own graphic. Everyone else just gets little spots on the screen here. Returning kickers, returning safeties, bringing dudes from San Antonio. They got Hit Stick Kearney coming. He played Quad City, played the Bay Area, and played in San Antonio. You got Payne return coming to San Antonio. He spent time, or coming to Colorado, he spent time in San Antonio with Coach Shaw. You look at this roster, looks like a postseason roster. Who's the individual that you see on this roster, gents? Let's go with Matt, that can elevate this team even more to not just being a contender, but actually a team that can win the whole thing if things went their way correctly.
Well, I think that this is going to be a surprise to some people, but having a veteran kicker is a big deal, especially in indoor football.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they got, I'm going to butcher it, Ferraria to return after last season, I think that that's going to be a key thing for them, because we saw last year, in the playoffs and towards the end of the season, Omaha brought in Paul Ortiz, who was a veteran kicker from the year before that helped us win that championship. And he hit a couple deuces. And so, whether or not he can kick deuces or whatever, it's just having that veteran presence of a guy who's kicked in that narrow goalpost and knows what it's like to kick in the indoor game. I think that's a key for any team to have, and a really big factor, and should be a big factor in games this season for them. So
especially with the deuce involved.
absolutely.
3 deuces that you get a possession. No, it's 4 deuces. It's 8 points. So that's happened before. What about you, Jeff?
It's hard to, obviously we've said Whitaker and we mentioned Newbold also, but I feel like Thompson coming back, their defensive back, who was the defensive rookie of the year also, you have all 3 coming back. Offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. You bring all 3 of those back. That's good foundation for this team and building blocks. I think with adding Dent, that adds a veteran. I mean, as soon as I seen it hit the transaction wire, Jim, I mentioned you, and I was like, hey, he can still go. Like, even if he's, teaching these guys the routes and how to, run sail routes and run corner routes and different things, he's going to show them that. And with being in the indoor game as so long as he has been, it's really going to help the offense out. And they're going to be gritty. We always say that with Coach Shaw. But yeah, I really think those 3 are huge building blocks for them to continue the success that they had last year.
You got Sam Hammond and you have Jackie Robinson, both on this team, both deeply experienced defensive linemen. And as we both know in this game, you can have all the quarterbacks and wide receivers and DBs. If you can't win the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win games at any level of football. And if you look at Coach Shaw's past, he finds some dudes, and their job is just get in the way. And last year, Colorado's defense was actually pretty decent. Besides the Omaha game, that first half, that defense looked legit. And then Omaha corrected because Tommy Armstrong, he's the GOAT, almost the GOAT in this industry, how he just exploded in the second half. We talked about the records. Oh, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Well, and you look at a guy like Sam Hammond, right? Sam Hammond was in the top, tied for second in the league in sacks last year.
Correct.
You look at a guy like him coming back and being a foundational piece for that defense. I mean, like I said, I know it seems like I really, am on the Colorado bandwagon this year, but I look at it from the perspective of being a fan of the game, and they've got the coaching staff and they've got the players coming back that are going to make them a contender for sure. So.
Okay, we've been on for an hour there, folks. How's everyone doing? Steven Newbold Jr. joined us. We broke down the schedules. I'm very high on the Colorado Spartans this year. 8-2, 7-3. Matt has to deal with them twice. Actually, we got to deal with them twice too, Jim, don't we?
I got them twice.
So Colorado would be a fixture on Inside the Walls this season. As you know, we are continuing the preseason stretch to the kickoff of the 2025 season as the road to March begins here. Next week, we will break down another organization in the National Arena League, but we'll stay on the West Coast for an organization that hasn't really had a show specifically for them. But next week we have somebody that commented on it that plays for that organization. And if that gentleman reaches out to me on Facebook, Inside the Walls Network, you'll be the guest next week if you want to join Inside the Walls podcast and talk about the Idaho Horsemen next week.
That would be a lot of fun. Seriously, I love watching that. That guy's fun to watch play too.
And then each and every week we'll break down a team, each team, as you see how we're doing it. We're not going to get to the big dogs to the end. We're not going to get to Sioux City, Omaha, Columbus, Wheeling towards the end of the schedule. Then the schedule will kind of change a little bit because we'll have an early episode one week, and then we'll be live on Monday night in Wheeling. So the breakdown will continue Idaho next week for the 2025 season breakdown. Any final words there, Jeffy?
Nope. Just tryouts tomorrow. Excited to finally get back in the realm of indoor arena football. So it's excited, get back around the coaching staff and, you know, see some players. We have some players that are coming up for the tryout. Get to run into CJ Kane tomorrow, which will be awesome. So somebody that's been around the game for a long time and who's going to play center for us this year. So definitely excited for that, you know, to be around football again.
Matt?
No, much like Jeff, I'm ready for things to get going. I know we got some cool stuff coming up in Omaha. We got tryouts coming up on the 25th. And so just looking forward to being involved in that and just, you know, continuing to work with on the Prime Cuts show and all that stuff. But yeah, man, this is going to be an awesome season. And I'm looking forward to all of it, man.
Prime Cuts, what, Tuesdays, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central?
Yep, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Central. We got linebacker Cam Hunt coming on this week.
Inside the Walls Network. Catch it live. Also, to the people who are listening, we had, and you're just joining, our numbers have just increased over the last 10 minutes. So we're going to wrap it up here quickly. But have you missed the show? Don't worry. Click on the QR code and get the audio version right when it gets uploaded. After the completion of the show, you get to hear the interview with Steven Newbold Jr. and us breaking down the schedule of Colorado, big matchups against Omaha and Willing and Sioux City. They play them twice. Tough schedule. Also, if you want to get to quick access, just go to nwallsnet.com for more information about Inside the Walls Network. And boys, again, to the people out there that are fans of the TikTok, we do have a TikTok. Just search Walls Network on TikTok. You get all the videos. You get to see some hilarious things of an owner using spatulas to get a point across. A quarterback that says he won't hurdle people. A lot of the shows that are on our network, a lot of good content. Go to In Walls Network on TikTok. And if the day comes that app doesn't exist, we will be moving stuff over to other social media platforms, including Facebook, so you guys can still get the reels from these great episodes and interviews for all these players. So with that, gents, we good?
Good.
You don't need to do a plug there, Jeff.
I mean, if you want to plug it, that's fine. I mean,
if you want to see me get interviewed for once, tune in to the Boys from the Wheel podcast tomorrow night. That is Jeff's podcast. Get to know more about me and how psychotic I am about this freaking industry. Because I love it. And plus, I know a lot of stuff about this sport that a lot of people don't know. They think that their secrets are secrets that I know. I digress. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I need to stop before I get myself in trouble. This has been episode 169 of Inside the Walls podcast. We'll be back next week for the Idaho breakdown, schedule, interview, highlights, much, much more to come on Inside the Walls this season. Of course, all the content from the NAL representatives. Bandit Booth Review is returning. Around the NAL is returning or has returned with Ducon Williams. Through the Wire, Prime Cuts, Inside the Walls, a lot of content for just NAL itself. So you want more information about the National Arena League, there's like 9 shows on the network that have NAL content. That's Matt. That's Jeff. I'm Jim. We'll see you guys